I'm Bernard Keane and welcome to an end-of-year edition of Crikey's Crossing the Floor. Today I'm joined by a very special guest. Bernard Keane is Crikey's Canberra correspondent and he joins me now. Hi Bernard. It's a pleasure to be here. So Bernard Keane, what for you have been the highlights and the lowlights in Australian politics in 2009? Well, clearly Malcolm Turnbull's brief but spectacular turn as opposition leader in a way dominated politics in Australia this year, from his opposition to the stimulus package early in the year to the Goulburn-Gretsch business, right through to the spectacular flame out of his leadership at the end of the year. And of course, he's not done yet. Well, that's exactly right. I mean, he's still attacking his enemies in the party and basically refusing to go quietly, if you like. Now, Malcolm Turnbull was one of the first politicians to really use Twitter, wasn't he? Yes, that's right. I mean, Turnbull's always been an early adopter of new media technology, and Twitter was no exception. But for me, the really important issue throughout the year was the economic crisis and the way that the government responded to that. Sure, but just on Twitter for a second, that's really developed this year as a what would you call it? A new form of journalism? Well, it's an extension of existing forms of journalism, I think. But I guess the new aspect of it is the format by which it's provided to users, and the fact that it really does enable them to pick and choose their content. And it was used extensively in the Turnbull leadership spill, wasn't it? Well, that's right. It very much came of age, if you like. In that period during which the Liberal leadership was up for grabs. And you were saying that the global financial crisis was a crucial event in politics? Oh yes, that's right. I mean, the government and let's not forget the Reserve Bank really did face an unprecedented economic challenge, certainly unprecedented in the last 60 years. And how they responded to that challenge was absolutely critical to hundreds of thousands of Australians who would have otherwise, I think, faced unemployment if they got their judgments wrong. Sure, that was definitely a critical moment, wasn't it? So when the government announced its second stimulus package, the cash handouts and the building the education revolution and infrastructure investment, was that covered on Twitter? Sorry? Well, was it covered on Twitter, the announcement of the package? Well. Not really, no. Not like the leadership spill. Certainly, the communication of the package, the government's communication of it was a critical element in propping up consumer and business sentiment, which turned out in the long run to be a very important aspect of the success of the package. What was the impact of the crisis on Twitter? On Twitter? Well, not really sure. I mean, I saw the other day they announced they'd finally made a profit, which I guess was delayed by the GFC. But anyway, to get back to the year in politics, just how important was the Goulburn-Gretsch affair? The Senate hearings, the faked email, the police, the whole lot, in fatally damaging Malcolm Turnbull's credibility. Well, it damaged him immensely. It damaged him in just at a time when voters were really tuned in to what was going on in politics and raised a lot of questions about his judgment amongst his own colleagues. Did he tweet about Goulburn-Gretsch? I mean, Malcolm Turnbull tweets. Did he tweet about Goulburn-Gretsch? Not that I recall. Sorry. So anyway, I mean, debt and deficit, a huge part of the opposition's economic campaign this year. How do you think that's going to play out in an election year? Well, it'll be a tough sell because the government now has a very strong reputation as an economic manager. But so much is going to depend on the 2010 budget, which and of course they'll only have 140 characters. I'm sorry? Well, all that economic stuff, all that complicated economic theory, it's a bit hard to fit it all into in 140 characters on Twitter. Yeah, can we get off Twitter? Sure. Just before we do that, I mean, how many How many followers do you have?
About 2,500.
It's not very many.
Well, it's more than some.
Not as many as, say, Annabelle Crabb.
What the fuck is this?
Sorry. Evidently a sore point. Just that, well, you do tend to go on about Twitter rather a lot, don't you?
I do not go on about Twitter all the time.
Yes, you do. You talk about it all the time. You're always on ABC Back and Beyond talking about how important Twitter is.
I do not.
You do. It's like you're some sort of self-appointed Twitter expert. Sorry, Twexpert.
Fuck you. Fucking DM me anymore, I'm going to block you and report you for spam.
At least I'm a real journalist.